Hey everyone, this is Heather with the Potomac Bead Company. I'm going to show you how to make our bracelet called the Tila Crossing Bracelet. This bracelet is fairly simple and it's really elegant and pretty dainty because I think of the delicas that we use. So I'm going to tell you what I used for this bracelet. This is a 7.5-inch bracelet. Actually a 7-inch bracelet. So for a 7.5-inch bracelet, I'm going to tell you what materials and supplies you'll need. For this one, I used Tila's, Delicas, and 11/0s. I also used a 6mm glass bead for my toggle, and I used my Delicas and my 11/0s for my clasp. This is a very fun and very easy bracelet to make. So go ahead and grab your supplies. You'll need about 7 grams of Tila beads, 2 to 3 grams of Delicas, and here I'm using violet gold luster along with my antique ivory color in my Tilas. And then you'll also need 11/0 seed beads in a seafoam green luster color. You'll need size 10 or 12 beading needle, 0.006-inch wildfire or fireline thread, and once you've attached your thread to a stop bead, I'm going to show you how to begin our project. To begin, you're going to pick up a Tila bead, 2 Delica seed beads, an 11/0, 2 Delica seed beads, and a Tila bead. You're going to drop this down to your stop bead. And at this point, you're going to add the fringe of your bracelet. And to do the fringe, you're going to pick up an 11/0, a Delica, and an 11/0. Then you're going to take your needle down through the second hole of your Tila bead and pull. And now we're ready to do the X portion, or the crossing portion of our Tila crossing. Pick up 2 of your Delicas and then take your needle down through the middle 11/0 seed bead and pull. Then you're going to pick up 2 11/0s, 2 11/0 Delicas, and then take your needle down through the second hole of your Tila bead and pull. Now at this time, I'm going to create the bottom fringe of my bracelet. And to do that, I'm going to pick up an 11/0, a Delica, and 11/0. I'm going to take my needle up through the second hole, or the first hole of my Tila bead, as well as through the 2 Delicas sitting on top. And I'm going to pull. I'm actually just going to take my needle. What I want to do is take my needle and my thread to the other side of the project, to the top portion and to the far right. So I'm just going to thread my needle through the 11/0 and the 2 Delicas on the far right, as well as the second hole of the top Tila bead, so that I can get in position to add on more Tila beads over to continue my bracelet. Now we're going to pick up a Tila bead and drop that down. And what we want to do at this point is we want to connect our Tila bead to each other so that it's not flimsy or floppy. What I'm going to do is take my needle up through the second hole of that previous Tila bead and then pull. And it just makes the Tilas sit nicely next to each other. And I'm going to take my needle down through that first hole of my second Tila bead, and I'm going to pull. Now I'm going to pick up 2 Delicas, an 11/0 seed bead, and 2 Delicas, as well as a Tila, and bring that down to my project. Oops. Then I'm going to connect my Tila bead, my bottom Tila beads, the same way that I connected the top. I'm going to take my needle over to the second hole of my first Tila bead. I'm going to take it up, if I can, like so. Just the Tila bead. Don't want to take my needle up through the Delica. And then I'm going to bring my needle down, back down, the first hole of my second Tila bead. And now I'm ready to add my fringe. I pick up an 11-0, a delica, and 11-0, and then take my needle up through the second hole of my bottom tila. Now I'm ready for my crossing, or my X. Pick up 2 delicas and take my needle up through that middle seed bead. And then pick up 2 delicas and take it up through the second hole of the top tila bead. And now we're ready to add our fringe. Pick up an 11-0, a delica, and 11-0, and take your needle down through the first hole of the top tila bead, as well as those 2 delicas. And now this time we want our needle to be coming out over here. So we're going to bring our project down. Take your needle down through the 11-0 seed bead, as well as the 2 delicas and the second hole of your bottom tila. Now we are in position to start our third column. I'm going to show you one last time how to do this pattern for the bracelet, so pay attention and hopefully you can repeat the video if you still have questions. I'm going to pick up a tila bead, drop it down close to the project, and because I want my tila beads to connect, what I'm going to do is take my needle down through the second hole of the previous tila bead, and I'm going to pull. Then I'm going to take my needle up through that first hole of the tila bead I just added. Now I'm going to add 2 delicas, an 11-0 and 2 delicas, as well as a tila bead. I'm going to bring them down. And now I'm going to connect my 2 tila beads by taking my needle down through the second hole of my top tila bead. And I'm going to pull so it's sitting nice and tight. Then I'm going to take my needle up through that first hole of the top tila bead I just added. I'm going to pull. Now we're going to add our fringe. Pick up an 11-0, a delica, and 11-0, and take your needle down through the second hole of the tila bead on the top. And now we're going to complete our crossing, or our X. Pick up 2 delicas, take your needle down through the middle 11-0, pick up 2 more delicas, and then take your needle down through the second hole of your bottom tila. And now we're ready for the bottom fringe. Pick up an 11-0, a delica, and 11-0. Take your needle up through the first hole of the bottom tila, as well as the 2 delicas sitting on top. And now at this point we're going to cross our needle and thread so that we're at the top of our top tila bead. So we're taking our needle through the 11-0, as well as the far right 2 delicas and the second hole of our top tila, and we're going to pull. And now we're ready to add our tila bead and then connect it. And you're going to complete this pattern. You're going to do the same thing until you've reached your desired length of your bracelet. And just a side note, you don't need to do the bottom and top fringes at the same time. If you find that it's easier for you to just complete the top fringe and then add your clasp and then continue the bottom fringe, you can do that. You will be going through your project to do that. Going through your project with your needle and thread actually gives it more of a nice, secure, tight fit so that your tilas aren't floppy and they're nice and secure. So it does give it that secure sense and nice tightness. So continue this project and then I'm going to show you how to tie it off. So once you've completed your project and you've gotten to the length of the bracelet that you've wanted, you're going to leave about an inch for both the toggle and the clasp. And I'm not going to actually show you, I mean, I'll verbally show you how to finish it off because it's so simple. So here what we're going to do is, I just showed you a little piece of the project that I was working on. And I'm halfway finished. So, and once I'm done, I'm going to show you what I did with this project. I actually brought my, as you can see here, I'm ending with my needle up top. There are multiple ways to finish off a project. You can make this a really wide clasp, or you can make it really narrow, kind of like what I did here. And to do that, you want to thread your needle and your thread down so that it's coming out of the top portion or the bottom portion here of your tila, so that you're able to create that loop, kind of like what I just did right here. And I used about 15 or 16 of my 11O seed beads, and I actually alternated it with my delicas. So that's an option. And another option, you know, like I said, is to make a really large loop and have a really large button, or, you know, something that the large loop will attach to. But for this one, for my loop that I created, my little clasp, I actually just used a 6mm glass bead. And I did the same thing. I threaded my needle and my thread so that it was coming out of the inner portion of my tila bead. And I added a couple of delicas, 11Os and delicas, and strung on the 6mm glass bead and an 11O. And when I threaded back down, I skipped the 11O and took my needle back down through the glass bead, and then added 2 delicas, 2 11Os, 2 delicas, and then kind of reinforced my needle and thread throughout the project. So that's just a couple of options. And if you don't want to use seed beads and delicas, or seed beads and glass bead, you can definitely use pewter or any type of other toggle and clasp, any type of, you know, silver findings or whatever color. Be creative and imaginative and have fun with it. So hopefully you enjoyed watching this video. It's a very simple project, and maybe one day, you know, if you have any questions, you can come by one of our stores and check it out, and we'd love to see your pieces. So post them on Facebook if you'd like, and check us out on Facebook and Twitter and some of our other YouTube videos, and hopefully we'll meet you in person. So thanks again for watching.